just moving on, we wanted to keep this episode very like Japan centric. I mean, talk about all things when we were over there, um, kind of beginning to end. Darius had brought up what it was like for us living there, and kind of voicing that a little bit more because we talk about specific stories, but we've never talked about what it was like when we first showed up or what our impressions were, things we struggled with. Um, and so, like, you tell me, because I think, did you get there before me or after me?
Well, so for me, it's different because I went to high school in Okinawa. So going to Japan
That's right.
when I went there to Masawa wasn't like culture shock or anything. For me, it really felt more like I was where I was supposed to be. So that's why I wanted to ask you what it was like for you, especially like your first impressions coming
That's
there.
right. I forgot
Was
that.
that
Yeah,
your
'cause
first time?
when I first met you, you were just like, "Oh, what's up, bro? Yeah, it's just Japan. It's whatever." um, no, but that's so dope. Because you had both experiences, and Okinawa's car culture is totally different than Misawa or
Oh,
Yokota's.
yes. It's just shit
And
boxes left and right,
for
as
those
far
that
as I can see.
for those that aren't keen to the military, bases and locations and whatever, Okinawa is one of is it the southernmost island, or it's one of the southernmost islands in Japan?
I don't think it's the southernmost, but I think it's like the most southern that has like a population worth speaking about.
Right. So it's very kind of alienated, I guess, from the rest of Japan. Like the culture is the actual people and culture is different from mainland Japan. And it's super, super tropical. They have their own unique issues in terms of like getting parts and stuff. Like they can still order things by mail, but just the resources on island are different. And then
Yeah, I think
Yokota
they have
is
like one track on island now,
that's right.
one tiny little track.
And even before that, a lot of guys would just go in the mountains, like OGs, because there were no tracks, but guys would still get stationed there and want to drift and do stuff. So like they would, do that. And Yokota was, it still is just outside of Tokyo, and so that's regarded as being like the most ideal base to go to if you want to drift, because
It's the dream.
Ebisu's what, hour and a half? I think it's not that far.
I don't know. I've never been to Yokota. I've never been close to Yokota, and I probably
I think
never will.
Ebisu's about an hour and a half away. It's not too bad. And then Misawa, where Darius and I were stationed, is the very northern point of Honshu, which is the main island of Japan that most people know and recognize. And so it's like farm country. It's in one of the poorest prefectures of Japan. I really do think it was a benefit being there, though, just because it was so far away from everything that I feel like if I was at Yokota in Tokyo, I would have been broke like 25/8. Like I would have, I really do, man. I feel like I would have been doing everything all the time, taking trains
Yeah.
everywhere, going to Ebisu all the time, which Ebisu is set up very similarly to our home track, Motorland South Point. And I always get that mixed up because I thought MSP, I thought it was Speed Park. I thought it was Motorland Speed Park.
Is that not what it is?
No, it's South Point. Because it's at the south point of Aomori.
I just know MSP, so that's just all
I want to say
going for.
it's called South Point because it's the lowest point in Aomori Prefecture. Katsutoshi explained that to me one time because I called it Speed Park and he was like, "Nah." But they're set up very similarly where you can take your car, pay to keep it there per month. And so I think, do you remember what MSP's was? I think it was like $50 a month to store it there.
I don't, because I never kept a car there. I know it was like
okay.
$20 to go and like hang out for the day, basically.
Yeah.
Like not driving, and a little bit more to drive. So it was like
Yeah,
nothing. It was
driving-
super cheap to go. and
Dude,
just,
so cheap. Driving was like $50 if you wanted to drive a half day, and then if you wanted to drive all day, it was $70. And that was every day of the week. So you would go, and sometimes they would be running go-karts, but that was pretty seldom. You could typically
I
show
think they're
up.
just sold off all their go karts now.
Did they really?
I think they're getting rid of them. Yeah, I saw a post about that. They were like, "Hey, if you ever wanted a go kart, come get them now."
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, given how popular drifting is there. And the nice thing, I think, is you could go any day of the week and really have the track to yourself or like two other people. It It was so good for seat time. Wow, we really deviated though. So anyway, so those are the 3 bases. That's kind of setting the scene. So anyway, so I showed up, and Jess and I were so stoked, So I'm coming in on the airplane, and like the first thing I see was
wait. Let me. I'm sorry. Let me stop you there because I want to get your mindset. I want to see. So I'm assuming you requested Japan, and with your job, I'm assuming you can go to pretty much any base, right?
Right.
So was Misawa on the top of your request list, or was it obviously like Yokota or any other?
I had all of them, but I think Misawa
Tokyo?
Was on the top of my list. Like I
Really?
said, man,
And
yeah.
did you know anything about it before?
I knew a little bit. So there was a girl that got stationed with me at my first base in Kansas, who was just coming from Misawa, and she was talking about it and the different bases and how Misawa gets a lot of snow, and I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. Like I would love that. So yeah, I think that was top of I think my list went like Japan all, right? Because you can just do a country too. You don't have to request a specific base. So it was like Japan all, Misawa, Yokota, Okinawa, I think was my order. And I just had those 4. I didn't have any other countries listed. I didn't have anything stateside. I was just like, put me in Japan, please. And they did. They put me in Japan like a year and a half after I got to Kansas. And I like almost cried. I was so excited. Dude, I was absolutely ecstatic. And I went home and
I'm in the
Jess,
same
I was
boat.
like, we're going to Japan. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you don't get excited until you actually move. Like, or at least I don't. I was just like, anything could happen between now and then. So I'll just keep living like I'm not moving there. But anyway, so we're on the rotator heading out, and it was just Jess and I, and you're over ocean for freaking 9 hours, 10 hours. And the first view we got over Japan was just roads, seeing people on the wrong side of the road, these little K cars. And when we landed, the first like tuner car I saw was Brett Allen's M35 Stagea. Do you remember that car?
It was like gold, right?
Yeah, and it had bronze wheels.
Yeah,
It was all stanced out and shit. Dude, that car was so nice. And so that was the first thing I saw getting off the rotator, and I was just like so excited.
Like, I made it. I'm home.
For real, dude. That's what it felt like, man. And I just remember like whenever you PCS, your shop or your new unit will typically come and pick you up from the airport, and they all met us there. And I was just like, yo, let's go get sushi right now. Like, they were all like, oh, you should go home and sleep and get settled. And I was like, let's do everything.
that.
Like, let's get sushi. Let's go to anime stores. Like, I did not want to wait. But isn't it insane how quick that shit gets normalized? Like,
Yeah, dude. Like,
it felt like home after a while. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to go out all the time or explore. Like, I would just go home and play games or like do normal shit. It got normal so fast.
Yeah. That's one of my biggest regrets about my time there is that, like you said, especially, it's a little bit different for me because it's so normalized that I didn't feel the need to go all these places. And my wife always wanted to go somewhere. And I was like, why can't we just like go home and like drink some fucking haichu and just chill? And after I left, I'm like, man, I really fucked up because I had it right there. I had all these places right there, and I didn't go.
Those Strongs, though, man, that shit hit.
Dude,
like $2 a can. Yeah,
dude, 212s and I'm good, bro. Like, that is the best night ever. 212s and some Cocos. If I ever go to Death Row, that's what I'm gonna get. 212s and some Cocos.
Jess and I were just talking about that. So 2 things for the listeners that might not know. So, chuhais are like these Japanese. What are they? Are they malt drinks?
I don't even know what you would call them.
They're kind of like wine coolers, I guess. They're like Smirnoff Ice, kind of, but they're really, really strong in alcohol content, and they're very citrusy. So they're really good, and they're pretty cheap. They're like a couple bucks, I think, for a can.
Super cheap.
And they're big and
it's
cans.
a tall can too, not a little can. Yeah.
And so we used to get those all the time. And then Coco's is a curry chain over there. It's kind of equivalent, I guess, to like Denny's for curry. Does that sound accurate?
I guess, but
like I'm trying to think of like a
Coco's is,
sit down
the
chain.
end all be all to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is it equivalent to? There's nothing equivalent to it.
Misawa got a drive-through Coco's. And were you there for that, or did you PCS before that opened?
Dude, of course I was. That was like 6 months after I got there, 6 or 7 months.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember
like that they
when
announced
that
they were
opened.
building it.
Dude,
Yeah.
and Justin and I were just talking about that yesterday about how much we missed that because it was just so good, and you can get like hamburger curry.
Real quick story on that. So, do you remember that other restaurant? And the listeners aren't going to know what, but do you remember the other restaurant that was called Coco's?
Yeah, the family
that
restaurant.
was like
that
by
one
the
was
McDonald's.
Yeah. That one was kind of like Denny's. I
So,
guess.
when I first got there, my sponsor was like, "Hey man, you want to go to Coco's for lunch so I don't have to go to work basically?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do that. We'll pretend like you're in processing." So in my mind, I was like, "Oh, we're going to Coco's Curry, like it's about to be on." And then we got to that family restaurant, and I was like, "Bro, what the fuck is this? What is this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, the nearest actual Coco's is like an hour away." I was like, "I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing ever, but you sold me." I thought this was going to be Coco's Curry, and it's not.
Yeah, that was a big confusion in Misawa specifically. It was like one was Coco's family restaurant and the other was Coco's Curry.
Yeah.
What a fucking damn, dude. What a letdown.
But back to you getting into Japan, getting your feet wet into the culture and whatnot.
Oh yeah, dude. I think my biggest thing was that when I got there, I didn't want to waste any time figuring things out with cars, like I didn't want to waste time figuring out how to get parts. So I want to say like 2 months after I'd been there, I placed my first order on Yahoo Auctions.
The addiction
because everybody
begins.
everybody always said like, oh, you need a bank account to use Yahoo Auctions. You can't do it any other way. And I was like, no, you can. Like I did, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, it did take a little bit.
Showed me how to do it.
Right. It's easy. It's super, super easy. However, that being said, when you make an account for Yahoo Auctions, it does make you put in a bank account. But I always just backed out of that and then logged in again. And it would be like, oh, okay, here you go. And
let's
so
clue
my
the
first
listeners
order
in on the process.
What's that?
Just let's clue the listeners in so they know kind of what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
so
like in Japan, you can go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry. So
Okay.
Yeah, so Yahoo Auctions, like you can buy anything you want to. You can buy car parts, you can buy books, or whatever. So the first order that I ever placed was for, I still have it. It's a S14 VHS that Nissan had put out in the 90s. And it was like $5, So I was like, well, if this doesn't work, or if there's some way I can't pay for it, or if the address gets messed up or whatever, I'm only out $5. And so I went, you can pay for these auctions at the convenience store. So that's what I did. I went and paid at the store. I put my address in Yahoo Auctions, then I waited, and it just showed up. And I was so stoked. Because that was dude, beginning of the end.
Yeah. I just want to say, so for people, because I'm trying to paint the picture for people that, that are listening to this to get an idea of the experience of being a car guy in Japan. So when you go to the convenience store, there's a machine there. So you get like a little code from Yahoo Auctions, and you go to the machine and you put the code in, and it prints out this fucking certificate thing, and you take that to the cashier and you pay, but you can only pay in cash. So there's no credit cards, there's no debit, credit, none of that. So you better have the money like ready to go. And I've gone to the cash register with stacks of fucking cash before, and I'm sure you've probably done the same thing. And like you're just
bro,
like,
I've legit spent probably like $6,000 in a Lawson's.
Dude, that Lawson's knew me. The one by my house, they knew me every time I walked in because it was the same thing every time. I was like, I'll take these 2 True Highs, and I gotta pay for this Yahoo Auction stuff.
Dude, I'm saying. Yeah,
but
that was...
so you bought your first thing and the addiction began. Did you have the Altezza yet?
Yeah, so I bought that. So okay, so when I first moved there, I bought bicycles for Jess and I was like, we'll just get around on bikes. Everything's close. We didn't have kids, so I was like, bikes will work, and it'll be fine. And I think the bikes lasted like a few months, and I was just like, I'm done. Like like this is great, but I'm done. And so I quickly switched from bikes. and got the Altezza. And that was when we first started